Hi, I'm Tom Giannotti, an attorney with the Butler law firm. You may be familiar with a black box on an airplane. When a plane crashes, investigators can go and retrieve important information from the black box. But what you may not realize is that your car probably has one too. Most modern cars have these EDR or black boxes. The EDR stands for Event Data Recorder. And this is a device that is installed in most modern cars that captures this information about what's going on in the car for a short period of time, just a few seconds, before a crash. And this is an important tool for crash investigators, including law enforcement, accident reconstruction experts, as well as attorneys and insurance companies. Now, this EDR is not constantly recording. The system wakes up when there's an event like an airbag deployment or a more likely a significant change in velocity. So there's sensors on the car that will register a change in velocity, or what they call delta V, and take a snapshot of what the driver's doing in the 5 or so seconds leading up to the crash, which can really help or hurt when there's a dispute about what really happened. But the beauty of this is that the data does not lie. So here's an example from, if you can see this, an example from a Ford Mustang GT driven by a 16-year-old who told the police and his father that he was only going the speed limit of 45 miles per hour at the time of the accident. So again, the data doesn't lie. You can see the times leading up to the accident. And again, this, you think of this as T minus however many seconds. So at 5 seconds before the crash, the car is going 105. 4 seconds, the car is going 108, 3, 111, and so on, leading up to just right before the crash. And you see, too, accelerator pedal. This is where the driver comes off the accelerator, stops accelerating 110 or so, and then gets on the brakes at that time, 2 seconds before the crash, obviously too late. And you know, this modern cars have this capability. Of course, older vehicles, this was never the case, and it's becoming more and more to the point where basically every new vehicle on the road has one. But it's not always so easy. So the older cars, again, certain car models can be more difficult than others to retrieve. So we'll look at a couple more examples. This is actually the most common tool. This Bosch retrieval tool is something that accident reconstruction experts have to pay for licenses annually and buy a bunch of expensive tools to get this. But most vehicles, majority of vehicles, can actually be accessed with this same tool. But you know, certain car models, Nissan, Subaru, Hyundai, for example, I think Volkswagen, Audi, have specialized tools. Of course, Tesla has their own tool. But it's becoming more feasible to retrieve this data. Actually, during the congressional hearings on the Toyota unintended acceleration crisis, it came out that Toyota only had one computer in the whole of the United States that could actually read the data. Again, that is becoming less of the case now that manufacturers are making this data more accessible. But again, it's not always so simple. You know, state laws, different states have different privacy laws. Generally, you have to have a good reason to access this data. It's considered the property of the vehicle owner generally. So unless the owner is willing to make that available, you know, if it's your client's car, for example, that's fine. But if it's the other driver's car, sometimes the insurance companies will cooperate, but sometimes you have to get a court order, whether it's through a lawsuit as part of a discovery request or a subpoena, or if you're law enforcement, a warrant. And again, this is data that we pulled, or our expert pulled from a couple of cases. And what I wanted to show you here is, again, this can help, as it did in this case, but it can also hurt. Right here you see that the driver, this tells you the driver was not seat belted. And So this is another case that we had where the other driver hit our client nearly head on and lied to police about which direction they were going. Basically said that our reverse directions and said our client swerved and hit him, said it was our client's fault. But thanks to this data, this showed that because of this, you can't really see it probably, but this steering wheel angle shows that this is the number of degrees. You have 49, 56, and those are all negative numbers, which indicates that the steering wheel was turning left, where the other driver said, or excuse me, turn right. The other driver said our client was turning left. So the accident could not have physically happened the way this guy said it did. So again, it can really help, but it can also hurt you, like you saw with the Mustang driver. So, you know, we've seen most times this is very good for our clients where there's a dispute, but we do have to get it very quickly. So if we think there's any chance that there's going to be a dispute, we need to move quickly to make sure that this evidence is preserved, because if the vehicle is moved or destroyed for scrap after an accident, you know, we've seen where it can take a 24-hour or less difference of when we send this letter. So wow, I'm really glad we sent that letter when we did, because you know they were going to chop that car up. That it was about to go to the chopping block. So another reason to get a lawyer involved early in the case if you've been injured in an accident like this. And again, the difference between getting the data and not getting the data can be the difference between proving liability and not. But you have to move quickly before the vehicle is scrapped. Thankfully, this data is a useful tool and becoming increasingly available to us. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, found it informative, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button.